Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to tackle a very difficult topic today, and the topic is the total amount of cash that is available in the world to relentlessly buy into the market. Look at the capacity of the investors today who can keep on buying every dip. So whether there is a good news and the market falls, there is buying. Whether there is bad news and the market falls, there is buying. Good news and bad news have become almost interchangeable. So completely the market keeps going up and up and up simply because there is just enough money chasing it. Who is chasing it? Well, your NPS is buying into index funds. Your provident fund people are being allowed to buy into index funds. You have a lot of individuals buying into index funds. So the components of the index are dramatically different from what is happening in the broader market. So whether Reliance goes up or down, there is buying, right? So whether Reliance has a good news or bad news, it keeps going up. Bharti Airtel keeps going up because people feel, oh, now this is in the MSCI index, there is 100% 100% FDI possible, right? So it is a duopoly market where Vodafone is playing a small role in perhaps telling the world that it is not a duopoly, but it is effectively a duopoly, and therefore, in spite of the quality of services which these telephone companies give you, their share prices are going up, like I said, relentlessly. The word to be used is relentlessly. Relentless bid for buying shares at any price. Does a fund manager tell you that we will chase growth at any price? No, he says I have a policy of GARP, growth at a reasonable price. But what is a reasonable price? There seems to be no answer for it, right? It is 2-3 things have happened. One, a lot of money has moved from active fund managers to passive fund managers internationally. A lot of money is going as per rules and as per asset allocation, and that is a shift which I think behavioral finance people have initiated it, but they have not understood the kind of implication that it has had when people start thinking, oh, I am behaving like this, I will not let me behave to proper rules. A lot of money, maybe 70% of the money in US, or maybe even 80% of the money in US is now not with active fund managers. It is with rule-based investors. What I mean is, it is not, everything is not in ETF, everything is not in index fund, but there is something called a smart beta, smart alpha. People are searching for those things, and they know that they have to invest in equities for the long run. Now, what forces them to invest in equities? One is the complete annihilation of the debt market. If you can get 1% return and 2% return, and I'm not talking of US, I'm talking of India. If you try making a deposit with a PSU bank, let's say State Bank of India, and you want to make a 3-year or a 5-year deposit, the best rate that is being offered to you is sub 3%, right? Now, if that is how badly you are going to be treated by the debt market, and believe me, we are already in -5, -6%, or at least -4% yield in debt markets. Indian inflation is nothing less than 7%. So if you're going to get 2% or 3%, even assuming you get 3%, you're at -4. So if -4 is what you can get in debt, and in most of the debt funds today, you will get YTM minus cost. And look at the YTM, it has fallen dramatically. And that was bound to happen with 1.5 lakh crores of government money coming in as a stimulus, available at sub 3%. So therefore your CP rates and CD rates had to fall to sub 1.5 lakh crore, sub 2% or 3%, and that's happening. So all your debt funds have been hit. Another thing which is very clear is a much bigger epidemic than the COVID is the longevity. So everybody assumes now that they will live longer, 80, 85, 90, 95, whatever. Any assumption seems to be fair because there are people living that long. Of course, there are youngsters also dying, but if your money is being managed by a professional manager, he's bound to tell you that, look, you need to provide for more equity because you're going to live longer, and therefore you have to keep buying. So therefore, again, buying at every dip. And who is buying? Well, the bigger institutions are buying, the American institutions are buying, the Indian institutions are buying, and the panic-stricken 45-year-old who thinks he is completely useless in the new market, where he perhaps may be unable to find a job, and he is sleepless at night, wondering whether he will have a job enough to pay for his own retirement, his children's education, and etc. etc. Now, this guy is not really worried about a nuclear war. He is not worried about Trump. He is not worried about Biden. What is happening in US is a complete joke. So, no, that is not what is bothering him. What is bothering him is he doesn't have enough money for his own goals and his own retirement, and that is worrying him. He does not know whether he will keep his job. So again, relentless buying. What should I do? I don't understand robotics, I don't understand artificial intelligence, but I know that there are some smart companies. If I own those companies, I can't go wrong. So what should I do? Go and buy FANG, right? So go and buy Facebook, go and buy Alphabet, go and buy Google, go and buy Netflix. Just keep buying them. If I keep buying them, I know that one day they will all give me very good returns. Why will they give me good returns? Because look at their earnings, look at their cash flow, right? So, but what we are not providing for is the competition that a Netflix could get from somebody else, right? Who could come, somebody else with bigger amounts of cash. That brings us to another problem. What happens if interest rates just don't go up? If interest rates remain at 1-2%, it means anybody who thinks he has a moat because he has got capital is completely wrong. That moat will be destroyed simply because some other person can also raise that much of cash. Now take a group like, say, the Murugappa group. Their acquisitions came very simply because the institutions, IDBI, IFCI and ICICI would go to them and say, look, here is a sugar mill which is not doing well, will you be interested in taking it? And then they would take it and they would get it at a good price. The institutions and the promoters would take a haircut and they would get a new mill or whatever business. That was a good business model to follow. Is that business model anyway available now? The answer is no, because there is somebody sitting with zero capital who can walk up to a manager working in Coromandel and said, look, we have a sick unit. Would you be interested in putting together a team? Maybe bring your team along and maybe bring 10-15 people, maybe bring from competitors, I don't care. We are the venture capitalists, we will fund it. You just bring your team and run it, and for that we will give you 20% of the equity or 15% of the equity, whatever. Just put some numbers to it. Now what happens is this kind of opportunity is available to whom? It is available to anybody. Anybody can approach me and say, Subra, we want to set up an AMC, are you interested? Yeah, AMC requires 100 crores. Now that's not very difficult for somebody when you say cost of capital has gone to zero, right? So if interest rates are low, this is bound to happen. So all these put together, there is tremendous amount of chasing, which means buying at every dip, because they've been told you have to keep relentlessly buying equity, so keep buying equity. Equity can't go down, so if there is bad news, there is more buying. If there is good news, there is even more buying. So there are only two types of buying, regular buying and frenzied buying. Nothing else is happening in the market. People are not selling. End of every conversation which starts with market bahut upar hai or market is too high, what should we do? Ends when the person asks, Acha, is there something worth buying? The same guy who thought market was too high, 50,000 was too much and it should not be there, right? The same guys are now saying, can we buy something? So relentless buying is happening. Cost of funds has come to zero. I'm very scared to ask a question. What happens if cost of funds remains here for the next 20 years, 25 years? What happens if inflation is completely ignored, which means senior citizens will get negative returns, then people will be able to borrow as much as they want because the loan repayment will become almost at par, right? So if your income is going up at 3-4% and your rate of inflation is high, but the government is giving you money at 1 or 2%, which is kicking the can down the road, markets will be in a bullish mode for a much longer time.